Chant and dance as much as possible in this human form of life.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadha Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utha Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi He Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So in the scriptures, there is a very beautiful verse that glorifies Jagganath, Baldev, Subhadra and Sudarshan. We see, if we see the altar, we have Jagannath, we have Baladev, we have Subhadra, and to the left side of Jagannath, there is a stick which represents Sudarshan. So the scriptures, there is a very famous, very prominent verse that is frequently chanted in Jagannath Puri. We have this common verse of Nilachara Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha. This is one of the very easy and well-known verses that we are aware of. But apart from this, there is one verse that the Puri Vasis, Jagannath Puri Vasis, they chant in their glorification of Jagannath. So we will chant that verse and see what that verse is all about, and then dive into our discussion about the glories of Sri Jagannath Prabhu. Neeladhrau Shanka Madhye Shatadala Kamale Ratna Simhasanasthau Sarvalankara Yuktam Navaghana Ruchiram Samstita Chagrajena Bhadrayam Vama Bhage Ratacharana Yutam Brahmarodhyadi Vandyam Vedanam Saramekam Sakala Gunamayam Daru Brahmam Smarami. Very beautiful verse. What does this mean? Neeladhrau. So Neela means blue, and Adri means a hill or a mountain. Like we have a Prabhupada disciple by the name Adridharan Prabhu, that Supreme Lord who lifted the Adri, that is Sri Giriraj. Likewise, also in our previous discussions, when we were discussing the famous verse of glorifying Giriraj, that verse starts by saying Hantayam Adri Abala. So there also we made this point that Adri means a hill or a mountain. So Niladro, the blue mountains. It's also called as Nilachala, because Nila means again blue, and Achala means something that doesn't move. Chala means to move, Achala something that doesn't move. So we see mountains and hills, they do not move from one place to another. Just a quick reminder, if we can unmute our mics. So Chala means to move, and Achala means something that doesn't move. So Nilachala means the blue mountains that doesn't move. So Niladrau, in the blue mountains, Niladrau Shanka Madhye, in the center of Shanka Kshetra. So we see Jagganath Puri is called as Shanka Kshetra. Why is it called Shanka Kshetra? Well, we will discuss that in just about a few minutes. We will understand why this place is renownedly called as Shanka Kshetra. But in the blue mountains, in the center of that Shanka Kshetra, which is Jagannath Puri Dham, Niladrau Shanka Madhye Shatadala Kamale, there is a very wonderful, huge lotus. And how many petals does it have? Shata. It has 100 petals. Shatadala Kamale, Niladrau Shanka Madhye Shatadala Kamale, Ratna Simhasanastho. And in the center of the conch shell shaped Nilachal Dham, in that center, there is a lotus which has 100 petals. In the center of that lotus, there is a Ratna Simhasanastho. There is a Ratna Simhasan, which means there is a beautiful throne which is bedecked with all the ornaments. It has all the gold, rubies, emeralds, all the precious jewels are there on that throne. And Ratna Simhasanastho, Sthatishta, means there is someone sitting on that throne in the center of that lotus, which is the center of Nilachal Dham. Who is that personality? It is our Jagannath Prabhu. So very beautifully, it's described Niladrau Shanka Madhye Shatadala Kamale Ratna Simhasanastau Sarva Alankara Yuktam. And our Jagannath Prabhu is Sarva Alankara Yuktam. He is filled with ornaments. You see, even now, if you go to Jagannath Puri, there is one day which is called as the Sonar Vesh, where our Jagannath Prabhu is completely filled with all the ornaments. He is an Aishwarya Ras that day. It's called as a Sonar Vesh. So Sarvalankar Yuktam, our Jagannath Prabhu has all the beautiful ornaments on his body. Sarvalankar Yuktam Navaghana Ruchiram. And what is his complexion? Navaghana. He is like the freshly formed monsoon cloud. That cloud which is all set to pour water, which is all set to shower water on the earthly planet. Not that cloud which has already showered, that cloud which has all the water in itself and is ready to burst. So we see that cloud is always lavender or bluish black in color. So our Jagannath Prabhu, his color is like that. Navaghana Ruchiram, freshly formed monsoon cloud. And Ruchiram means beautiful. In spite of being dark in color, our Prabhu is very beautiful. Navaghana Ruchiram Samstita cha Agrajena. And to Jagannath's extreme right, who is sitting? Agraja. His older brother, Baladev Prabhu, is sitting. Agraja basically means someone who has come before, who has appeared before. So Baladev Prabhu, Balaram Prabhu, he has appeared before. So Samstita cha Grajena. So Jagannath Prabhu is sitting, and to his extreme right, who is sitting? Baladev is sitting. So Niladrau Shanka Madhye Shatadala Kamale Ratna Simhasanastau Sarva Alankara Yuktam Navaghana Ruchiram Samstita cha Grajena Bhadrayam. And to Jagannath's immediate right, who is sitting? Bhadra, that is Subhadramai. So two brothers, and in between the sister is there. Bhadrayam. Bhadrayam Vama Bhage Ratha Charanayutam. And to Jagannath's left, who is there? Bhadrayam Vama Bhage Ratha Charanayutam. To Jagannath Prabhu's left is Sudarshan. Ratha Charanayutam. Sudarshan, you see, is almost like the wheel of a rath, of a chariot. The chariot wheels are always round in shape, and similarly, Sudarshan is round. So here he is mapped to the wheels of a rath. Ratha Charanayutam Brahmarudhyadi Vandyam. And these four personalities, who are the four personalities? Jagannath, to Jagannath's extreme right, his older brother Baladev Prabhu. In between both of them is Subhadra Mai, their sister, and to Jagannath's left is Sudarshan. So we see to Jagannath's left there is a stick always. If you have not noticed, we can notice from now. To Jagannath's left there is a stick, and that stick denotes Sudarshan. So these four personalities called as Chaturdha Murti, Brahmarudyadi Vandam, they are worshipped even by Brahma and Shiva and Agni and Vayu and Varuna and Chandra. All of them worship Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra and Sudarshan. So you see, this Chaturdha Murti is very much relatable. Why? Because to Jagannath's left, we start with Sudarshan. Sudarshan is always there in the form of a stick. So what is he teaching? He is teaching all of us, just like he is the stick, he is teaching all of us to fall like a stick when we see Jagannath Prabhu. He's teaching by example. He's showing that I am a stick, and all of you all who come to see Jagannath, you should fall like a stick to give him obeisance. That is Dandavat Pranam. And his name is Sudarshan. Sudarshan means the desire. Like you see, when we have the desire to go to a temple, we have the desire to go and see Radha Neelamadha. We have the desire to go to some pastime places of the Lord. We have the desire to attend Harikatha. We have the desire to perform Kirtan. We have the desire to serve the Vaishnavas. All those auspicious desires that are manifested in the heart is only by the blessings of Sudarshan. That is why his name is Sudarshan. He creates the auspicious desires in our heart. If there are auspicious desires coming in our heart, we should know that it is the blessing of Sudarshan. Without his blessing, no one can develop these desires. Sudarshan. The darshan of this world is not Sudarshan. It is Kudarshan. Kupsita darshan. When we see things of this world, it is not auspicious, but it is kupsita. It is bad. Our face frowns. But when we see the Lord, it is Sudarshan. It is very auspicious. And that is created by Sudarshan. And when that auspicious desire is created, what happens? We come to the temple. And now when we come to the temple, we have Subhadra Mai. And now Subhadra Mai, she removes the curtain of Maya. All the misconceptions that are there in the heart for lifetimes together in the form of ignorance, Subhadra Mai completely removes it. So for the external people who are not devotees as of now, Subhadra Mai acts as Maya Devi, Mahamaya. And for the devotees, she doesn't act as Mahamaya, but she acts as Yogamaya. And we know Yogamaya is the orchestrator of all of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So Sudarshan develops the desire in our heart and he gets us to the temple. When he gets us to the temple, Bhadra, that is Subhadra Mai, she removes the curtain. She removes the veil of Mahamaya. And naturally, when the curtain is removed, what happens? She gives us in the hand of Shri Guru, who is Baladev Prabhu. So when we are given at the hands of Baladev Prabhu, we get the mercy of Gurudev or Shri Balaram. And naturally, when the desire is there in the heart by the mercy of Sudarshan, when Subhadra Mai removes the curtain of Mahamaya, and when she gives us in the hand of Shri Guru, who showers his blessing, only then can we see Jagannath, who is the Supreme Lord. So we see the complete essence of Krishna consciousness is there in Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and Sudarshan. Jiva Tattva, Maya Tattva, Guru Tattva, and Krishna Tattva all in one altar. And this is our scenario. This is our circumstance. So we see this one verse describes the complete essence of Krishna consciousness, right from a person developing good desires to the veil of the curtain of Maya being lifted, and then approaching Sri Guru, who showers his blessing, and finally it is Guru Dev who holds the hand of the disciple and takes him to the Supreme Lord Ishvara, who is Jagannath. So these four personalities, Chaturdha Murti, Brahma Rudyadi Vandyam, they are worshipped by all the demigods, including Lord Shiva. So Neeladhrau Shankamadhye Shatadala Kamale Ratnasimhasanastau Sarva Alankara Yuktam Nava Ghana Ruchiram Samstita Chagrajena Bhadrayam Vama Bhage Ratha Charana Yutam Brahma Rudyadi Vandyam, and hence Vedanam Saram Ekam. Of all the Vedas, there is only one Sar, there is only one essence. Vedanam Saram Ekam. What is that one essence from all the scriptures? Vedanam Saram Ekam Sakala Gunamayam Daru Brahmam Smarami. The essence of all the scriptures is to fall at the lotus feet of our Jagannath Prabhu. That is the fundamental essence of all the scriptures. Because Jagannath is also called as Daru Brahma. So, Vedanam Saramekam Sakala Gunamayam Daru Brahmam Smarami. The essence of Krishna consciousness, the essence of human life, the essence of all the scriptures, the one point essence is to fall and surrender ourselves at the lotus feet of Jagannath. And these four personalities on the altar actually help us do it, right? From Sudarshan to Subhadra to Baladev and finally Jagannath Prabhu. So this is a very beautiful verse that glorifies Jagannath. And for those who do not have this by heart, we can add this as a bookmark, and we can add this to our list of existing prayers that we chant, and we can by heart this verse. And every time we see Jagannath, we can chant this verse, because it not only glorifies Jagannath, but also has the complete essence. 4 lines has the complete essence of Krishna consciousness. So very beautiful verse for memorization and chanting it for the glorification of Sri Jagannath. So having said this, we take the blessings of Jagannath Prabhu and dive into our today's topic of discussion, the glories of the Lord of our lives, that is Sri Jagannath. We see that there is one great historian. He's a non-devotee historian, but he in his work makes a very interesting point. He's making the point of Jagannath Rath Yatra, and he says that this Jagannath Rath Yatra is 30 crore years old. 30 crore years old. And then he also makes this point, it's actually even more older, but he can count only till 30 years. He says it's even more older, but according to his understanding, he can count only till 30 crores year in the past. So this Rath Yatra is not something that is started just a few years back, but it traces back to about 30 crores years in the past. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappears, we are very much aware. When Krishna appears and when Krishna disappears, we are very much aware. When Ramchandra appears, when Ramchandra disappears, we are very much aware. But when Jagannath appears, no one has any idea. When the Supreme Lord appears as Jagannath, no one has any idea. You see, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he comes as Prema Purushottam, Gauranga Mahaprabhu is called as Prema Purushottam. The main reason for his descent is to give prema, is to give love of Godhead. When he comes as Sri Krishna, he is called as Leela Purushottam. Why? Because our Sri Krishna performs very sweet, very intimate pastimes with his devotees. So all his Leelas are decorated by the glories of his devotees. Just like the Lord glorifies his devotees, the devotees likewise glorify the Lord. So Krishna is called as Leela Purushottam. Gauranga is Prema Purushottam, and Sri Krishna is Leela Purushottam. And Ramchandra, Ramchandra is called as Maryada Purushottam. Why? Because Maryada means rules and etiquette. So Ramchandra came down to teach basic discipline and basic etiquette to humanity. You see, when he was asked to leave the kingdom, when his father asked him to leave the kingdom, Ramchandra did not argue. He did not say that, oh, I'm the next king. How can you throw me out? Ramchandra did not say anything. He, like an obedient son, followed the instructions of his father. So he's teaching etiquette. Likewise, Ramchandra had Ekapatni Vrata. He accepted only one consort, one wife. So he's teaching by etiquette what a proper human should be doing. So Krishna's instructions should be followed, and Ramchandra's activities have to be followed. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Prema Purushottam. Our Sri Krishna is Leela Purushottam. Ramchandra is Maryada Purushottam, but our Jagannath is called as Sri Purushottam. He is the best among all personalities. He is the complete best. Even though he appeared in Satya Yuga, he is the Lord for Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. You see, traditionally in India, there is this concept of Char Dham Yatra. There are 4 prominent dhams, which is to the north, we have Badrinath. Down south, we have Ramchandra, that is Rameshwaram, Ramnath. To the west, we have Dwarkanath, because Dwarkadish Sri Krishna ruled. And to the east, we have our Jagannath. So naturally, Badrinath, because he appeared in Satya, he becomes the Lord, worshipable Lord for Satya Yuga. Ramchandra, he appeared in Treta Yuga. So naturally, he becomes the worshipable Lord for the Treta Yuga. Sri Krishna appeared in Dwapar. He is Dwarkanath. So naturally, he becomes the worshipable Lord for Dwapar. But our Prabhu Jagannath, he appeared in Satya Yuga, but is still worshipped in Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali for time immemorial, which only proves the point that Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, not just for one yuga, but for all the yugas, for ages together. This is the glory of our Jagannath Prabhu. But the question here arises, well, we said that Jagannath appeared in Satya, but which Satya did he appear? Do we have an exact time when Jagannath appeared in which Satya? There are 18 Puranas, dear devotees, 18 prominent Puranas. Brahmanda Puran, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Agni Puran, Vishnu Puran, Vayu Puran, Matsya Puran, so on and so forth. 18 Puranas are there, and of those 18, 15 Puranas talk about Jagannath. So of the 18, 15, so almost a major chunk of the scriptures, they describe in some detail about Jagannath, but the greatest in detail explanation is found in Skanda Puran, in one of the chapters called as Purushottam Mahatmya. There in Skanda Puran, the glories of our Jagannath is present. But even Skanda Puran, that chapter cannot accurately describe when Jagannath appeared. So Jagannath's appearance is complete mystery. We just know that he appeared in Satya, but which Satya Yuga he appeared, no one has any idea. These scriptures can talk about the planets and the universes and the complete cosmos. They can speak about the speed in which the planets are moving. They can describe the width and the dimension of the planets, but they cannot describe when Jagannath appeared in this world. So Jagannath and Jagannath Puri, therefore they are called Nitya Dham. They are always existing. They are always present. The story is there even of Markandeya Muni. Now, Markandeya Muni is a very famous rishi who was known for living a very long life. He is known because he has a very, very, very long life and he doesn't get old. Well, he gets old, but it's a prolonged period. So Markandeya Muni is known for that. So that's why even now in the spiritual circles, whenever we find a devotee who is like maybe 40 or 50 or 60, but still looks young, he is kind of addressed as Markandeya Muni, because Markandeya Muni was known for being very young and he had a very long life. But it is said even in the life of Markandeya Muni, when you saw the complete devastation, when the complete Mahapralaya took place, complete devastation, everything was completely destroyed. But even at that time, there was one place that was always existing. Even the Mahapralaya could not do anything to that place. And dear devotees, that place is nothing else but the place of Jagannath Puri. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. So there also this point is made that Jagannath, because he is Nitya, and Jagannath Puri, because it is Nitya Dham, they cannot be affected by things of this world in the form of Mahapralay. Nitya means eternal, yes. So in this way we find that our Prabhu Jagannath, when he appeared, is a complete mystery. We find that there was a demon by the name Gayasur. And this demon Gayasur was causing a lot of problems. So naturally the Supreme Lord, he killed Gayasur. And because Gayasur was killed in Gaya, that's why the place gets its name as Gaya. So there's a place called as Gaya, we all would have heard. It gets its name as Gaya because the Supreme Lord killed Gayasur at that place. So because Gayasur was killed at Gaya, the place gets its name as Gaya. But the interesting point is when Gayasur was killed by the Supreme Lord, we know that the Lord has Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. In the Lord's four hands, Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma are always present. Shankha means the conch shell, Chakra means the disc, Gadha means the club, and Padma means the lotus. So this is always present in the hand of the Lord. So when he killed Gayasur, our Supreme Lord, he kept all these four things, the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, at different parts of India. So first, the Shankha was kept at Nilachal Dham. He killed Gayasur and he kept Shankha at Nilachal Dham. And because the Lord, after killing Gayasur, kept his Shankha in Nilachal Dham, that is why that place is called like Shankha Kshetra. So in the start of our discussion, we made this point, Niladrau Shankha Madhye. Nilachal Dham is called as Shankha Kshetra. Why Shankha Kshetra? Because in this place, the Lord deposited his Shankha after killing Gayasur. So the Shankha was kept at Nilachal Dham, and then the Lord took his Chakra and he placed the Chakra at Bhuvaneshwar. Bhuvaneshwar is the very famous place that saw the appearance of His Holiness Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj was from Bhuvaneshwar, and the Lord, after killing Gayasur, kept his Chakra at Bhuvaneshwar. So naturally Bhuvaneshwar is called as Chakra Kshetra. So Nilachal is called as Shankha Kshetra and Bhuvaneshwar is called as Chakra Kshetra. And then the Lord took his Gadha and placed his Gadha at a place called as Jijapur. So that place was called as the Gadha Kshetra. And finally, the Lord took his Padma, that is lotus, and placed the Padma in a place called as Konark. And that is why Konark even now is called as Padma Kshetra. So the Lord very mercifully, after killing Gayasur, kept his Shankha, Chakra, Gadha and Padma at Nilachal, Bhuvaneshwar, Jijapur, and finally Konark. And naturally, because the Lord kept his paraphernalia in different places, these places got their name after that paraphernalia. So that is why we see that Puri Dham is called as Shankha Kshetra. Gaya is a very famous place, dear devotees, because in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very small, we find that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would battle. We have the famous battle with Keshav Kashmiri, and he would argue and he would debate. He was very philosophical and very powerful when he was very small as far as debates are concerned. But it is only after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gaya, there was a complete transformation in the heart of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. When he went to Gaya and when he returned back from Gaya, he was no longer that Nimai Pandit who would debate, but now his heart had transformed so much that he would gently and very submissively speak to everyone. And the Navadvipasis were fascinated by this transformation. But the interesting question, dear devotees, is how did this transformation take place? This transformation took place because in Gaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri. When he met his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, at the place of Gaya, his heart was completely transformed. And he took initiation from Ishwara Puri. And Ishwara Puri initiated him with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And when Gauranga Mahaprabhu started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When Gauranga Mahaprabhu started chanting this mantra, it would intoxicate Gauranga Mahaprabhu completely. So much so that Mahaprabhu, Kaviraj Goswami chants a very beautiful verse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Ishwarapuri again and he says, "O Ishwarapuri, Kiba mantra dila gosait, kiba tara bal, japite mantra karela pagal." Oh Gurudev, what mantra have you given me? Japite mantra karela pagal. By just chanting this mantra again and again, I'm going crazy. What mantra have you given me? Who is chanting this? Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So this transformation of Gauranga was seen after he returned from Gaya. So Gaya is a very prominent place, not only in the pastimes of Jagannath, but also in the pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So that is how we find that Jagannath Puri is always addressed as Shankha Kshetra, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham, because of the connection of killing Gayasur. For those who have been to Jagannath Puri, dear devotees, we find that inside the temple, there is the deity of Jagannath. We have Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and Sudarshan inside the temple. But even in the gate, it's called as a Simha Dwara. Even in the gate, there is the deity of our Jagannath Prabhu. Outside, just when we enter in the Simha Dwara, there is the deity of Jagannath. And the story for this is very fascinating. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj narrates a very interesting story as to how the deity manifested there. So in India, in the province of Utkal, there was a king by the name Ramchandra De. And Ramchandra De was a very noble king, very powerful and very devoted and surrendered to the lotus feet of Jagannath. For him, Jagannath was his life and soul. You see, we call him as Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, but for the residents of Jagannath Puri, he's not just Jagannath, he is Odiyanath. He is the life and soul of them. So Ramchandra Dev, for him, Jagannath was everything. Like we also see in the pastimes of Sri Krishna, when our baby Krishna was very small, and sometimes when he would perform inhuman, godly activities like lifting Giriraj or dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, sometimes the Brajavasis would feel and they would ask, is Krishna God? Is he really God? Because this is not human. Whatever he is doing is inhuman. So they would have these questions. Is Krishna God? And when Maya Yashoda would get to know, she would reprimand and say, he is not God. Don't call him God and make him public. He is my son. He is Yashoda Nandan. He is Nanda Nandan. Because you see, God means he belongs to everyone. He just doesn't belong to one person. God means he belongs to everyone. So Mother Yashoda, out of Vatsalya Ras, she would say, don't call him God. God means he belongs to everyone. Don't share him with everyone else. He is only my son. He is Yashoda Nandan. He is not God. So there our acharyas make this point that the motherly love of Yashoda is so much that she cannot share him with anyone. For Maya Yashoda, he is always Yashoda Nandan, irrespective of how much ever Aishwarya the Lord demonstrates. So similarly for Ramchandra De, Jagannath was his life and soul. For him, he was Odiyanath. But interestingly, what happened was, at that time, the Mughals, they invaded the province and they had a fight with Ramchandra De. And when Ramchandra De was battling the Mughals were headed by a person by the name Taki Khan. So they were fighting Taki Khan, and Taki Khan was very powerful. The Mughals were very strong. So naturally they defeated Ramchandra De, and Ramchandra De had no option but to surrender to Taki Khan. He fell at the feet of Taki Khan and said, I'm sorry, I cannot defeat you, but I surrender my life at your feet. So Taki Khan, when he saw this, he said, well, this doesn't suffice. This doesn't please my heart. if you really want to surrender, then give me your Jagannath. Give me your Jagannath in exchange. And when Ramchandra, they heard this, he said, nothing doing. You ask for anything. You ask for my life. But Jagannath, no. He belongs to me. I will not give Jagannath. You ask for anything else. So Taki Khan, when he heard this, he asked for some wealth. Now Ramchandra Dev was not willing to give some wealth also. He was in two minds to give wealth. So naturally, when Taki Khan saw this, he was furious because he was not ready to give Jagannath. He was not ready to give wealth. So he imprisoned Ramchandra Dev. Now Ramchandra Dev was in the prison for quite some time. And the main reason for the imprisonment was Taki Khan was thinking to himself that if I have to extract wealth from him, if I build family ties with Ramchandra Dev, then naturally, because we are one family, then whatever belongs to him also belongs to me. So the wealth that belongs to him also belongs to me. A quick check. Is the voice breaking?
No, Prabhuji.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So I was making this point that Taki Khan wanted to extract wealth from Ramchandra Dev, and he thought to himself that because if we build family ties, then naturally whatever belongs to him also belongs to me. So the wealth that belongs to him will also belong to me. So he gave a suggestion to Ramchandra Dev that I have a sister by the name Razia. If you get married to Razia, then I will spare your Jagannath. Nothing will happen to your Jagannath if you get married to my sister. So when Ramchandra Dev heard this, he said, I'm sorry, because I come from a Hindu background and Razia is a Muslim. And we live in a conservative society that doesn't allow this. So, oh Taki Khan, I'm extremely sorry. I cannot give you Jagannath, but at the same time, I cannot even get married to your sister Razia. So when Taki Khan heard this, he was furious. So he imprisoned our Ramchandra Dev. And when Ramchandra Dev was in the prison, every day he was crying and praying to Jagannath that, oh Prabhu, what happened? I wanted to protect your life, but in fact, instead what happened is you imprisoned me. My dear Lord, what is your plan? Please reveal your plan to me. So at that time, Razia, who was a sister of Taki Khan, she entered the prison and she said, oh Ramchandra Dev, I have a suggestion for you. You should actually get married to me. So when Ramchandra Dev, he heard, he said, oh Razia, this is not possible. I am already married. I already have children. I am the king. And this is that society which will not accept this marriage. And Razia was someone who was very young. And Ramchandra Dev was pretty old. So naturally, the society will not accept. And it is not ethical also for someone who's relatively old to get married to someone who's very young. So Ramchandra, they said that, oh Razia, society will not accept. And this is not ethical. This is not what Shastra teaches us. So when Razia heard, she said, oh Ramchandra, you should get married to me because there is a reason. If you get married to me, there is a lot of benefit that you will get. So Ramchandra, they heard this and said, benefit? What is the benefit out of this? So Razia at that time, she said, my father, even though he is Mughal, he's against Jagannath. My mother is a Hindu and she's very devoted to Jagannath. So I have some connection. I have some roots. I have some connection with Sri Jagannath Prabhu. My origin is there with Jagannath. So Ramchandra Dev was hearing. And then Razia continued by saying that, oh, Ramchandra Dev, if you get married to me, Jagannath's life will be spared, because Taki Khan is thinking to himself that if you don't get married to me, he is going to break the deity of Jagannath. But if you get married to me, his heart will melt. And naturally, by getting married to me, you will also protect the life of Jagannath. Oh, Ramchandra Dev, the ball is in your court. It's up to you to decide whether you want to save the life of Jagannath or not. When Ramchandra Dev heard this, without a second thought, he said, yes, I will get married to you. If this is going to protect the life of Jagannath, I will get married to you. And now he accepted. He got married to Razia, and Taki Khan was very happy when he got to know about this. So the life of Jagannath was spared. But when the people of that kingdom, they got to know that this is what their king has done. He has got married to a girl who was half his age, and that too who comes from Mughal background, who was a Muslim. They ousted the king. The king was stripped from all his positions. He was not given anything that is worthy of the opulence that a king actually gets. Even when the Rath Yatra goes, we see the tradition, even till date, the king, he sweeps the road for the Supreme Lord Jagannath. That was taken away from Ramchandra Dev. Even till date, in the terrace, all the ladies, all the queens who are there, they light lamps so that the life of the king who is there, his life is always protected. For the long life of the king, even till date, they light lamps. But for Ramchandra Dev, because he did such an abominable activity, in their eyes, they even stopped lighting lamps for him. And the icing on the cake was they even stopped him from taking darshan of Jagannath. So he was asked to leave the kingdom. They were not giving him any privilege of that of the king. The lamps that they would generally light for the king, that was taken. And he was also asked to not enter the temple of Jagannath. So this was too much for Ramchandra Dev. And he was living outside in a small cave, in a small kutia, 30 kilometers away from the Jagannath temple. And every day at night, he would, with his horse, he would gallop 30 kilometers. And from outside, he would just stand in the temple. He would see the chakra and he would keep crying that, my dear Lord, why did you do this? I did all this only to save your life. And you, in fact, ousted me not just from the kingdom, but you also did not allow me to enter into your temple. My dear Lord, why did you do this? Now, please tell me what is the main reason why you have orchestrated this whole plan. So for 6 months, Ramchandra Dev would gallop 30 kilometers and just keep crying all night long. Hey Jagannath, hey Jagannath, hey Jagannath. He would just stand out and loudly he would keep crying and he would keep chanting. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami Jai Jagannath. नीला चले अमर प्रभु जय जगन्नाथ, नीला चले अमर प्रभु जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ, Swami Jai Jagannath. He would keep crying and he would keep calling out, Jagannath, Jagannath, hey Prabhu, please allow me to enter your temple. It's been 6 months, I have not seen you. So one day the pujari, when he came in the morning to open the temple, he saw something very mysterious. Throughout the hallway, so from the Simha Dwara, from the gate till the main altar, it's a very long distance. Those who have been to Puri will know what I'm speaking about. From the gate till the main altar, it's quite a distance. So every day when the pujari would come, he would see garlands throughout in that hallway. He would now think to himself that at night I clean the whole temple, I mop the whole temple, and I close the door. But what is it? Why are there so many garlands? Seems like some animal or some intruder is coming at night. Trespassers are not allowed. Of course, there was no board, but he was thinking to himself, trespassers are not allowed. So there was constant garlands, and he was thinking to himself, what is happening? And this happened for 7 days consecutively. So he sat in the temple and he was meditating that, my dear Lord, please reveal what is happening. Why is it that those garlands that I've offered to you at night are there throughout in this hallway? What is happening? So when after 7 days, when he was praying this way, the Lord Jagannath, he appeared in the heart, he appeared in the dream of this Pujari and said, "Oh Pujari, do you remember Ramchandra? Ramchandra De?" So the Pujari said, "Yes, I remember Ramchandra De. What happened to him?" So the Lord said, "You ousted Ramchandra De from the kingdom. You asked him to live 30 kilometers away from the kingdom. And on top of that, you have even stopped him from taking darshan. What he did was to protect my life. Without knowing the whole picture, you ousted him from the whole kingdom. He did it for me. He did it to protect my life. He did not have any self-interest, but it was solely done for the protection of Jagannath, that is myself." So when the Pujari was hearing, he said, "My dear Lord, but what is all about the garlands?" So at that time, our Jagannath Prabhu, he said that because you all don't allow him inside the temple, every day at night for the past 6 months, he's coming and crying outside the Simha Dwara. And when my devotee cries, how can I sleep inside? My devotee is crying outside. So naturally, even I feel like crying and I give up my sleep and go and be with Ramchandra. Then naturally, when I'm going to meet Ramchandra, the garlands from my body fall to the ground. So then Jagannath continued by saying, "This time I only went till Simha Dwara. Next time, if you don't allow him inside, I will leave with Ramchandra De. So it's up to you to decide." So when the Pujari heard this, he said, "My dear Lord, what are we supposed to do? We cannot ask him to enter the temple of Jagannath because he has done something that is not ethical. And at the same time, we don't want you to go out. We don't want you to leave the temple of Jagannath Puri. So, my dear Lord, you only give an option. You give an alternative how we can solve this problem." So at that time, Jagannath, he said that because Ramchandra De, whose patit has been uplifted by me, at the Simha Dwara, install a deity of Jagannath there, because I always showered my darshan to Ramchandra De, and because you tarred him as patit, you thought that he is very fallen, and because I uplifted him, that is why make a deity of Jagannath there in the Simha Dwara, and that deity from now on will be called as Patita Pavan Jagannath, because Ramchandra De was patit in the eyes of people, and because I uplifted Ramchandra De, from now on that deity of Jagannath in the Simha Dwaram will be called as Patita Pavan Jagannath. Shri Patita Pavan Jagannath Prabhu ki jai. So in this way, we find that in the Simha Dwara, even now there is a Jagannath deity. It's called as Patita Pavan Jagannath, and this is the history that Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj beautifully narrates. So that is why Jagannath is called as Bhakta Jana Mana Ranjak. He entertains the hearts and the minds of all his sincere devotees. So in this way, our Jagannath Prabhu has interacted and he has dealings with many of his pure Vaishnavas. Another example, very famous, is by the name Dasya Bauri. Dasya Bauri is a very famous devotee of Jagannath who not lived quite long ago, but he was there in the 1600s, which means only 400 years back, Dasya Bauri was present. And the speciality of Dasya Bauri is wherever he would see the eye of Jagannath. Whatever he would see, he would just see the eye of Jagannath. His own eyes were anointed so much with love for Jagannath that wherever he saw, he would just see the beautiful round eyes of Jagannath. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Premanjana, when the eyes are anointed with prema, that is love, the devotee only sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere. Even when he sees rocks, he is reminded of Giriraj. Even when he sees a garden, he is reminded of Vrindavan. So wherever he goes, wherever he sees, he is only reminded of the Supreme Lord. Sthavara jangama dekhe na dekhe tara murti sarvatra hoy nija ishta deva spurti. Srila Kaviraj Goswami describes what is the characteristic of a pure Vaishnava. Sthavara Jangama Dekhena Dekhe Tara Murti. They do not see whether anything is moving. They do not see whether anything is not moving. Na Dekhe Sthan. They do not see the place. They do not see whether this person is qualified. Pure Vaishnavas, Sarvatra hoy Nija Ishta Deva Spurti, wherever they see, because they have so much love for the Supreme Lord, wherever they see, they're only reminded of the Supreme Lord. So Dasi Bauri was one such example. Wherever he would see, he would just see the eyes of Jagannath. It's very interesting. If you notice the eye of Jagannath, it's very different from the eye of Sri Krishna. Krishna's eyes, they're kind of oval, which means Krishna can see from one end to another end. And he also has eyelids, which means it's possible that because Krishna has eyelids, Krishna blinks his eyes. So it's possible that someone comes and gives dandavat to Krishna, and because Krishna has closed his eyes, he doesn't even see that devotee. But our Prabhu Jagannath, his eyes are not oval, but his eyes are round, which means he can see everything at all times in all circumstances. There is nothing that skips from the vision of Jagannath. He sees everything constantly. And secondly, he doesn't have eyelids. If you see the deity of Jagannath, he has no eyelids. That is why Jagannath is called as Animesha. Nimesha means eyelids. Animesh means someone who has no eyelids. You see, many people have this name Animesh. So this is the name of Jagannath. That personality who has no eyelids is Prabhu Jagannath. So because he has round eyes, no one escapes from his vision. So he's ready to shower his glance, his mercy on everyone. And because he has no eyelids, which means our Supreme Lord doesn't even sleep. When Indradumna Maharaj, not the ISKCON Indradumna Maharaj, but the Indradumna Maharaj, who in Bhagavatam we see he comes down as Gajendra in his next life. So Indradumna Maharaj, when he was finding Jagannath, when he got Jagannath in front of him, Jagannath looked at him and said, "Oh Indradumna, you have found me. What is it that I can do for you? You can ask for any boon and I can fulfill that boon for you." So when Indradumna Maharaj heard this, he told Jagannath that, "My dear Jagannath, in all the places, in all the temples, in all your incarnations, you have eyelids, which means there is some scope that you take some rest, you sleep. But my dear Lord, in this form of yours as Jagannath, I want that you should have no eyelids, because if you have no eyelids, which means you will not sleep. And if you don't sleep, then you will shower your darshan on your devotees 24 hours a day. So my dear Lord, my humble suggestion is you should have no eyelids and you should give darshan constantly to everyone." So when Prabhu Jagannath, he heard this, he said, "Okay, I will not have eyelids and I will constantly give darshan to anyone and everyone." So you see in all other temples, when you go in a time when the temple is closed, the pujari says, "Hey, you should have seen in the website, the temple is closed from 1 to 4 p.m. So you should have seen in the website." But in Jagannath temple, he is always open. Prabhu Jagannath never sleeps and he is always open to give darshan to everyone. And the temple is closed, dear devotees, only for 2 hours. Out of 24 hours, 22 hours the temple is open. No temple in the world is open for such a long time. But Prabhu Jagannath's temple in Puri is open for 22 hours. And only for 2 hours the temple is closed. But even in that 2 hours, we think that Jagannath is sleeping. But actually in that 2 hours also Jagannath is not sleeping. In that 2 hours, the demigods, they come to take darshan of Prabhu Jagannath. So in the daytime, 22 hours, the human beings take darshan. And in the 2 hours when the temple is closed, the demigods come to take darshan. There's a story in 1851, which means just about 250 years back. 150 years back, 1850. So about 150 years back, roughly. There was one pujari, and the pujari closed the temple and he was going back to his home. It was night time. He closed the temple and he was going back to his home. But interestingly, it so happened that he forgot something inside the temple. So he again took a detour and now he was again entering back. And this time when he was entering back, he saw a big, huge shadow that was following him. So he was astonished. He was curious and he looked at this personality and just fell to the ground completely. Why? Because this personality was 40 feet in height. I repeat, this personality who was walking behind the pujari was 40 feet in height. And naturally, when you see someone 40 feet in height and that too in the middle of the night, anyone will get scared. So this pujari, he just fell to the ground completely unconscious. So this personality, he then took some water in his palms and he showered that water on the pujari. And when it hit the pujari, it was not a palm full of water, it was a pond full of water, because person who is 40 feet in height, we can imagine how big his palms will be. So it was not a palm full, but it was literally a pond full of water. So when this whole water, it fell on this pujari, the pujari came to external consciousness and he looked at this person and said, "Who are you? And how is it that you're 40 feet in height? And how is it that you are here? Who are you?" So at that time, this personality said, "I am Vibhishan, the brother of Ravan." So this pujari, when he saw this, he said, "Vibhishan, here? I don't believe you. Please prove it to me that you are Vibhishan." You see, naturally, when we see something like this, our heart doesn't accept it. So this pujari, he said, "If you're Vibhishan, prove it to me that you're Vibhishan. Otherwise, how can I understand that you are the brother of Ravana? How can I understand that you were the personality who helped Prabhu Sri Ram in Treta Yuga? Please prove it to me." So at that time, Vibhishan, he agreed and he removed a bangle from his hand. And he removed a bangle and gave it to this pujari. And he said, "This is the bangle that the Supreme Lord Sri Ram gave me. So I am giving it to you as a gift." So this pujari took the wheel. The reason I say wheel is, for Vibhishan, it was a bangle. But for us who are only 5 or 6 feet in height, it's almost like the size of a big, huge wheel. So the present day wheel was the bangle of Vibhishan. So he gave it to this pujari. And dear devotees, this wheel is still present in one of the Mahapatra's house in Jagganath Puri. So the next time we go to Jagganath Puri, we can see this wheel, the wheel or the bangle that Vibhishan was wearing in his hand. And the personalities, the researchers, when they came to this place, they examined this wheel. And when they examined this wheel, they saw script. They saw some text which has become extinct over time. They saw some text which was used only in Treta Yuga. So naturally, there is no question of anyone knowing that text. So even now we see that wheel has things written which were written in Treta Yuga. So that literally proved the point that that personality was actually Vibhishan. And at night, he was coming to take darshan of Prabhu Sri Jagannath. So the point is, throughout the day, for 22 hours in a day, the Lord, he gives darshan to everyone, to the human beings. But in that night, 2 hours, he doesn't sleep, but he gives darshan to the demigods, which means 24 hours a day, our Prabhu Jagannath doesn't sleep because he has no eyelids. So constantly he's ready to shower his mercy, ready to shower his glance on anyone and everyone. And another feature of the eye of Jagannath is, see, it is round. It's almost like a magnifying glass, which means Prabhu Sri Jagannath, his eyes are like that of the magnifying glass, that anyone who comes in front of him, he will magnify their good qualities. Even if they have little iota of good qualities, little trace of good qualities, Prabhu Jagannath, like the eye of a magnifying glass, he will magnify their good qualities. But when it comes to seeing bad qualities, he becomes Balaji. He closes his eyes. So the Lord never sees the bad qualities in anyone. He's only there to look for the good qualities. So the eye of Jagannath is a best example. He magnifies the good qualities. Whatever good quality one has, Prabhu Jagannath magnifies it. And if it's the question of seeing anything bad, then he becomes Balaji. He closes his eyes. He doesn't want to see the bad quality of anyone. So the reason we are talking about the eye of Jagannath is Dasya Bauri. Whatever, wherever, however he saw, he would just see the eye of Jagannath. We can keep the questions to the end, but right now maybe we can focus on this discussion. So he would only see the eye of Jagannath. So one day he was very tired and he came home after all day's work. After having a 9-to-5 job, he came home and he was very tired and very hungry. So he asked his wife that, is there something to eat? And she said, yes, there is something to eat. Please sit down. Please wash your hands. Please wash your hands with sanitizer. do everything and sit at one place and I will give you your prasad. So Dasi Bauri sat down, and in those days there were no steel plates, but there was the earthen pot that was there. You see in India it's still there, the earthen pots. And these earthen pots are they're like brown in color, or brown and a reddish tinge in color. So the reddish pot or the earthen pot was kept in front of him. And in that the wife, she put a bowl of rice. And now we know rice is white in color. And then Dasi Bauri said, is there some sabji to eat? So the wife said, yes, there is shak, but it's 3 days old shak. So Dasi Bauri said, no problem, please get that. So we know shak is a green leafy vegetable. It's actually green in color, but when green leafy vegetables are kept for 3 days as it is, the green color changes to black. So because this was 3 days old shak, from green it became completely black. So now there was a red pot on which there was white rice, and on top of that the wife, she put the black color sak. And when Dasi Bauri saw this, he said, this is the eye of Jagannath, because red color, then white color, then the black color. He said, I cannot eat this. You're giving me the eye of Jagannath. How can I eat the eye of Jagannath? And Dasi Bauri became so intoxicated that he stood up and he was jumping and laughing and crying and rolling on the ground and loudly chanting, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami Jai Jagannath, Neela Chale Amar Prabhu, Jai Jagannath, Neela Chale Amar Prabhu, Jai Jagannath, Dasera Pranadhana, Jai Jagannath, Dasera Pranadhana, Jai Jagannath. He was loudly chanting this way, that this is the eye of Jagannath, this is the eye of Jagannath. So when the wife saw this, she was convinced that her husband has gone mad, because who looks at prasad and thinks that it's the eye of Jagannath? So the wife was convinced that her husband has gone crazy. So she called a doctor. The doctor came and he checked the pulse and he said, oh, everything is fine with him. There's no problem. His pulse rate, his BP, all the parameters are perfectly fine. There is no issue. So then the wife, she asked the doctor to go away, and she brought the tantrics. We say in India, there are tantrics, those who make the ghost go away from the body. So the wife was thinking that probably some ghost has entered into the body of my husband. That's why he's jumping and dancing, and he's looking at an earthen pot with white rice and black sak. He's saying this is the eye of Jagannath. Probably a ghost has entered. So she called a ghost catcher. And now this ghost catcher came, and the ghost catcher looked and he asked the wife, what's the issue? What's the problem? So she explained that here is white rice, and on top there is black sak, and all of this is kept on the red earthen pot. And my foolish husband, he's saying this is the eye of Jagannath. So I want you to take the ghost away from his body. So when the ghost catcher heard this, he said, okay, I will do this, no problem. This is very much possible. This is my bread and butter. I do this every day. So don't worry, I will do it. So then he started speaking to Dase Bauri. And naturally, Dase Bauri started speaking to the ghost catcher. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the discussion. After 20 minutes, the wife, she came back to the room where Dase Bauri and the ghost catcher were there. And now there was not one madman, but there were two madmen. Two madmen were jumping and dancing and crying and laughing. And what were they chanting? Jai Jagganath, Jai Jagganath, Jai Jagganath, Swami, Jai Jagganath, Jai Jagganath, Jai Jagganath, Jai Jagganath, Swami, Jai Jagganath. The ghost catcher was completely transformed. Just 15 minutes of association with Dase Bauri, he was completely transformed. And he looked at the wife and said, he's right. Why are you giving him the eye of Jagannath? How can someone eat the eye of Jagannath? It is your fault. So now, instead of one madman, there were two madmen. And the wife was thinking to herself, I brought the ghost catcher to the house to remove the ghost from the body of my husband. But seems like there are two madmen now dancing. So she was now thinking to herself, what am I supposed to do? So she called another ghost catcher. So another ghost catcher came into the house and she told the ghost catcher, I don't have a contact of another ghost catcher. So make sure you don't associate too closely with Dase Bauri, because already one ghost catcher came and this is the result. So you don't associate very closely from a distance. Maintain some social distancing, have 6 feet distance with Dase Bauri. And don't go very close to him, but just try to take the ghost out of him. So interestingly, this ghost catcher was also a devotee. So when he looked at Dase Bauri, he understood that this is not the ghost of this world, but this is the transcendental symptoms of ecstasy. This is the ghost. When love of God appears in this heart, these are the symptoms of that. So this ghost catcher, who was a devotee, understood. So now it started off with one madman, and then it became two madmen, and now after 10 minutes, it was 3 madmen who were in the room jumping and dancing and loudly chanting, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami, Jai Jagannath, Dasera Pranadhana, Jai Jagannath, Dasera Pranadhana, Jai Jagannath. 3 madmen, spiritually ecstatic, were jumping and dancing and calling out to Jagannath. They were crying. Now the wife was completely, she was thinking to herself, what happened? I thought my husband is mad, but then I called a ghost catcher. Now even he is jumping and dancing. And now the second ghost catcher whom I called, even he is jumping and dancing. Where am I supposed to go? I don't have any other contacts. But then finally, the ghost catcher, he said that, oh mother, he was addressing the wife of Dase Bauri. He said, oh mother, the solution for this is, because you have given on a red earthen pot, you have kept white rice and a black sack, which represents the eye of Jagannath. If you see the eye of Jagannath, there is red color, then there is black color, and then inside there is white. So red, white, and then black. So seeing all this, Dase Bauri was reminded of the eye of Jagannath. So this ghost catcher, he gave the solution that, oh mother, keep the sabji, keep the sack to the side and just give him rice and earthen pot on one plate and the sack sabji on another. Separate it so that he is not reminded of the eye of Jagannath. So the wife agreed, and she took the sack and she placed it on a different earthen pot and rice on a different earthen pot. And naturally, when Dase Bauri saw this, his ecstasies came down and he again sat down to eat his prasad. So the point is, pure devotees of the Lord, wherever they go, wherever they see, even in prasadam, they are reminded of the Supreme Lord. And Dase Bauri was the best example, who lived just 400 years back. very dear devotee of Jagannath. This is, dear devotees, the mood of a Vaishnava. Once Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj, he was giving a class at one place. And when he was giving a class, he was speaking about how unpredictable human life is. And at that time, there was one pigeon who was flying around the blades of a fan. So the fan was moving pretty fast and the pigeon was flying. And just when Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj made the point of how unpredictable life is, at that time, this pigeon, its wings hit the blades of the fan and it just fell to the ground dead. So at that time, the whole temple hall was stunned. There was complete silence and no one spoke because Maharaj made this point and immediately the bird, it lost its life. So at that time, Maharaj, he was so spontaneous. He did not say that the bird made a mistake, but Maharaj put it so nicely. He said that to prove the statements of the Supreme Lord in the Bhagavatam right, this bird gave up his life. To prove the statements of Krishna, to prove the statements of Shukadev Goswami right, this bird gave up its life. To set an example that life is actually unpredictable, not just human life, but all species of life. So the point is, pure Vaishnavas, in everything, they can map to Sri Krishna, they can map to the scriptures. And Dasi Bauri was the best example, who could see the eye of Jagannath in practically every single thing. So a few days later, the Supreme Lord Jagannath, he came in the dream of Dasi Bauri and said, "Oh Baba, oh Dasi Baba, what do you want? You're so devoted to me. Is there anything that I can do for you?" So because Dasi Bauri came from a very low background, he had no entrance into the temple of Jagannath. We see even now this rule is there that the Muslims are not allowed, or non-Hindus are not allowed, which means Muslims and Christians, etc. They are not allowed. Even Haridas Thakur, for that reason, Sanatan Goswami, they never entered into the temple of Jagannath because Haridas Thakur came from a Muslim background, and even Sanatan Goswami, he worked for Nawab Hussain Shah. So they were always at Siddha Bakul, and from there they would take darshan of the chakra of Jagannath temple. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this strong point that anyone who takes the darshan of chakra will get the same benefit as taking darshan of my deity. So Dasi Bauri was not allowed to enter into the temple because he came from a low background. So he told Jagannath that, "My dear Lord, please give me your darshan. I have never gone inside and seen you. Please give me your darshan." So Jagannath, when he heard this, he said, "Oh Baba, that's it? No problem. I will give you darshan. Come tomorrow morning and I will be present to give you darshan." So Dasi Bauri was excited. So the next day morning, he went with 40 mangoes with him in a basket, in a tokri. He took 40 mangoes with himself and he went to the temple. And the pandas, the pujaris, they saw and they said, "Hey, Dasi Bauri, give it to us. We will offer to Jagannath. You are not qualified. You can't even enter. So how will you offer? Give it to us. We will offer to Jagannath." So when Dasi Bauri heard this, he said, "I will offer to Jagannath. Don't worry." So the pandas, they said, "How will you offer? You cannot go inside. You give it to us. Follow our instruction. Give it to us and we will give it." So then at that point, Dasi Bauri said, "Wait and watch what happens." So he took the mango and he kept the mango in his palm. And at that time, dear devotees, Jagannath was sitting on top of the chakra. Just like in the Giriraj pastime, we find that the Brajavasis, they saw Krishna on top of Giriraj. Krishna expanded himself as Giriraj and he was taking all the prasadam and he was saying, "Aniyor, Aniyor, Aniyor, give me more." Krishna expanded himself as Giriraj. Likewise, in this case, Jagannath Prabhu was expanding himself and he was sitting on top of the chakra. So every time Dasi Bauri would give mangoes, they would just disappear. 1, 2, 3. And the pandas were completely perplexed and they were looking at each other. Where are the mangoes going? He's not entering inside, but where are the mangoes going? So one panda, he said, probably he's a magician. Maybe he's doing some magic tricks. Other panda said, oh, probably he's just putting inside his pockets, because without going inside, how can you give? So when Dasabauri heard all this, he said, you may speculate, but I know what the truth is. And Jagannath knows what the truth is. We know what the eternal truth is. The real truth behind this whole scene is Jagannath is actually taking what I'm offering him. I am feeding Jagannath and he's eating my mangoes. But the pandas were not ready to believe. And in no time, all the 40 mangoes Jagannath ate. So the whole basket was completely empty. The pujaris were completely perplexed. The pandas, they were thinking to themselves, we have never seen anything like this in the past. What is going on? So when one of the pujaris, the head pujari, when he went inside and he opened the altar, he saw something very unique and very mysterious and very fantastic. When he opened the altar, there were 40 peels on one side, the mango peels, 40 peels on one side, 40 seeds on other side, and from Jagannath's transcendental lotus mouth, mango juice was dripping. It was oozing completely, so much so that it had drenched his complete body. His whole body was drenched in mango juice, and Jagannath was nicely eating mangoes. The peels on one side, the seeds on the other side, and juice all over his mouth. So when the panda saw this, he fell flat to the ground, and he understood that Dasabauri was not joking. He was actually serious. Jagannath was actually eating his prasad. And they came and they fell at the feet of Dasabauri. And then Dasabauri was known, his fame spread across all places as the great devotee of Jagannath, for whom the Lord sat on the chakra to eat all his mangoes, and for whom the Lord reciprocated multiple times. So this point is made that even though we cannot enter into the temple of Jagannath if we are non-Hindus, Jagannath, from this pastime, he made arrangements that even if you cannot enter, if you take darshan of chakra, you will get all the benefits. Probably Jagannath knew that Prabhupada in the future is going to come with International Society for Krishna Consciousness that is filled with all international bodies who cannot come inside. So beforehand, Jagannath made all the arrangements so that even if they cannot come inside, they can see the chakra and get the benefits. So in this way, Prabhu Sri Jagannath, he is very kind and very reciprocative to all his sincere devotees. If the desire is Sudarshanam, if the desire is to take darshan of the Supreme Lord, then Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra and Sudarshan, they all help us approach the Supreme Lord, and the Lord will surely reciprocate for someone who is very sincere in his heart. Having said this, we humbly stop here and we pray to Jagannath that may that day arise in our life when we can also get the personal darshan and the merciful glance of Prabhu Sri Jagannath. Shri Jagannath Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Manande.